Like,
Well, you know what's going on. Someone wanted a lot of attention, and now they got it.
that was the whole episode.
That was the app.
Yeah.
That was the
They're like,
premise.
Is that what it
they're
was?
like, we want privacy, and they keep going on every magazine.
Yeah.
Be a regular person.
Yeah.
Go get a job in an office.
This is the moment the Sussex camp has been dreading. The second the palace has quietly feared for 5 years. The instant this entire drama officially explodes from celebrity gossip into a legitimate federal investigation. For weeks, we've been dissecting the escape. The 7 suspicious suitcases at LAX, the sudden detour to Sicily, the missing $12 million, and the mysterious figure insiders call the Architect. Until this morning, major media outlets desperately tried to dismiss it all. They brushed it aside as conspiracy theory, labeled it internet noise, buried the footage of a K9 unit alerting on the tarmac beneath glossy distractions about American Riviera Orchard. The strategy was simple: drown the story until it vanished. But there's one voice they cannot silence, the most powerful voice on the planet. Last night, Joe Rogan, who reaches more people than CNN, Fox, and the BBC combined, didn't just mention the Meghan Markle LAX footage. He dissected it frame by frame, no careful palace-friendly language, no access-protecting politeness. He spoke using the tone of the federal rule book itself, calling it what he believed it looked like: money laundering. Rogan leaned into the mic while staring at the grainy footage of black SUVs lining the runway. I've had CIA guys on this show. I've had cartel experts on this show. That is not a vacation. That is an extraction. You don't load 7 industrial cases onto a private jet at 3 a.m. unless you're moving something you don't want the government to see.
Like, damn, we did some bad stuff.
She's half black.
And then the wife convinces you to leave the royal family. Like, I'm out. I don't need you guys. Which is crazy, because don't you just get free money?
Dude,
Like,
give me my
what-
allowance.
What do you get when you're a royal?
You get a stipend.
You get a,
What's
get a
the
bunch of
stipend?
cash.
Like,
I'm sure it's
you
a
spend
million
on
a
anything you
month.
want?
Yeah, what about the countesses?
Yeah.
Do they get?
This moment changes everything. When Rogan talks, the algorithm moves fast. Within hours, the clip exploded past 50 million views. The LAX situation is no longer whispered about in forums. It's now the biggest topic in America. And for Meghan Markle, reportedly staying in Dubai while figuring out her next step, this is a full-blown disaster. Rogan didn't just react, he set the tone. He peeled away the Duchess image and replaced it with a new word echoing everywhere: suspect. Inside the Montecito mansion, the silence we mentioned before is gone. A podcast is playing on repeat. Prince Harry is alone in the dark living room, curtains shut tight. He hasn't slept in 2 days, replaying the clip over and over on his phone. Picture the mental hit of that moment. He walked away from royal life hoping to become a global thinker, a cultural voice. Instead, he's watching the actual voice of the generation break down his wife's alleged actions in real time, like something straight out of Ozark. Rogan flagged a detail others missed at first. He zoomed in on the handlers. "Look at the guy loading the third bag," Rogan said. "Look at his knees. That bag weighs 100 pounds. If that's dresses, she's wearing lead, that's currency, that's high-density paper." And then came the detail that froze people cold. The dog sat down. That dog knows more than the prince does. Nothing about this feels random anymore. That line, "The dog knows more than the prince does."
That's why a lot of these celebrities that start these things, they can't keep up. You know, like the Meghan Markles.
But you're the same.
You're the same.
Like, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, guys, you don't got to do this. Please, I'm begging you to stop.
Reportedly sent Harry into a mental tailspin. It confirmed doubts that had been creeping in ever since he came across the Soho House dossier. In that moment, it clicked. He wasn't just the husband, he was the cover. He was the distraction while everything else moved quietly out the back door. While eyes stayed on him, the real operation kept rolling. And Rogan didn't stop with the suitcases. He went straight to the person pulling the strings. He asked the same question investigators are likely asking right now. Who? Who is the woman with the clipboard? You don't pull something this precise without a professional involved. That woman wasn't a PA, according to Rogan. She's a cleaner. She's the one who knows where the Cayman accounts are. For the first time ever, the connections we exposed, the Soho House links, the offshore shell companies, the old yachting ties, were being broken down on the biggest platform in the world. The protective wall finally cracked. Sources say the reaction from authorities was immediate, with the FBI's Los Angeles field office flooded with calls after the episode aired. Public pressure is no longer some fringe noise. It's loud and nonstop. Rogan didn't just comment. He dared federal law enforcement to act. "If you or I did this, we'd be in handcuffs," Rogan said. He made it clear, if nothing happens, the system looks compromised. This stopped being a royal fairy tale right here.
You just can't keep faking it. It's too hard.
Now, if you are enjoying your takedown so far, please hit that subscribe button. The genre flipped overnight. This is no longer a love story. It's turning into a true crime case playing out in real time. And Harry, sitting alone in the wreckage of everything he thought he built, is starting to see the truth. The crowd isn't rooting anymore. They're waiting for charges. And remember this. Every deleted post, every quiet correction, every polished statement takes time to unravel. Nothing disappears forever. If you want to support the work, staying alert and watching closely matters now more than ever. Rogan didn't toss around the word crime casually. He got specific and technical. He pulled up the federal statutes and looked straight into the camera. Title 31, United States Code, Section 53324. Rogan said, his tone dropping into full investigator mode. It's called structuring. He explained that in the industry, it's known as smurfing. You don't move $12 million in one hit, Rogan said. That trips alarms. Instead, he explained, the money gets broken down, shifted in pieces, pushed through shell companies. And that woman with the clipboard, Rogan added, she's not a travel agent, she's the smurf. This is where the story officially crossed the line from celebrity drama into organized financial crime. Rogan then turned to the so-called consulting fees, quietly draining Sussex-linked accounts. He asked the question Harry, by his own innocence, never did. Who are these consultants? Why is a California-based foundation sending $500,000 a month to a brand strategist in Delaware? That question lit a fire online.
But they
wanna go,
can't
but,
make
you know.
money off the royal family.
So why did you say yes to doing this show?
Because it's you. And to me, that means
There was like photos with her and Prince Andrew way back in the day when she was like in her early 20s.
Now, the internet is packed with forensic accountants digging into the numbers. They're mapping out LLCs registered in low visibility states like Wyoming and Delaware. No employees, no websites, no physical offices, just paper trails and a whole lot of smoke. Companies that exist for one reason only, to act as pipelines for cash. Rogan then snapped the focus back to the footage of the woman we've identified as the architect. He froze the frame on her face. Jamie, zoom in on her, he said. Look at her demeanor. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't rushed. She looked bored, like this was just another Tuesday. That's when Rogan dropped the hammer. This wasn't chaos. This was a professional extraction. And it tied directly into the Soho House lore we've been tracking for years. This wasn't amateur work. This was the same kind of infrastructure allegedly used to manage money for wealthy individuals who need to quietly vanish. Rogan connected dots the mainstream media wouldn't touch. You think Meghan Markle, cable actress, knows how to set up a double-blind trust in the UAE? Rogan laughed. No, she was handed a playbook. He said the structure was already there, built for her years ago. The moment they landed in California, the exit plan was already being wired into the accounts. For Harry, watching this alone in the dark, the realization is physically sickening.
Wasn't there some speculation that she was on Epstein's yacht at one point in time?
He remembers the meetings. He remembers her bringing in so-called financial experts to optimize their taxes. He remembers signing documents without reading them because he trusted her instincts. Now it's clear. Those weren't tax forms. They were blueprints for the tunnel she'd one day use to walk away with his money. Back inside Montecito, it's now 4 a.m. Harry has moved from the living room to the home office, the so-called war room where operations were once run. He's tearing through filing cabinets, frantic, but they're empty. The paper trail is gone. The architect didn't just take the money, she erased the evidence. He logs into the few digital accounts he can still access. Vendor payments start flashing on the screen. August 12th, $450,000 to Global Synergies LLC, Delaware. September 4th, $600,000 to Strategic Narrative Partners, Wyoming. October 1st, $1.2 million to Archipelago Holdings, Cayman Islands. The names mean nothing, but the numbers hit hard. They're ghosts, but the figures are brutal. He grabs his phone and calls the palace accountant he fired 3 years ago, the one who warned him back then. The phone rings endlessly before a cold, distant voice finally answers. Harry asks just one question. What is structuring? The silence on the line is crushing. Then the reply comes, Sir, it's a federal crime. And if your signature is on those checks, you are not the victim. You're a co-conspirator. The phone slips from Harry's hand. This is checkmate. Rogan was right. She didn't just take the money, she set him up to take the fall. If he goes to authorities, he exposes himself. If he stays quiet, he's trapped. A perfect prisoner's dilemma where silence feels like the only option. On the podcast, Rogan's guest, a former IRS forensic investigator, laid it out plainly. The brilliance, he said, is jurisdiction. By routing money through Delaware first, the source gets scrubbed.
I knew her a bit before she met Harry. She was nothing like that. She didn't speak like that. Her mannerisms weren't like that. This is all fake.
By the time it reaches the UAE, it looks like clean investment capital. Washed, legal on paper. Then they circled back to the 7 suitcases. Why cash? Why physical bills? Because cash has no memory, Rogan explained. Digital trails can be traced, but $12 million in high-denomination notes leaves nothing behind. Once that money leaves U.S. soil, it's gone. Rogan explained it becomes ghost money. Cash that can buy property, luxury assets, even a brand new life while tax authorities hit a wall. The suitcases weren't the whole fortune. They were the emergency reserve. The real wealth moved digitally, piece by piece, disguised as normal business expenses, flowing quietly while Harry never saw it coming. This isn't just a bad marriage, Rogan said. This is a conspiracy. He laid it out clearly. A coordinated network, repeated transfers, and what he described as a pattern of wire fraud across state lines. Add in interstate movement of assets, and suddenly you're not in gossip territory anymore. You're staring at a potential RICO case. And if federal investigators ever step in, Rogan made one thing clear. They don't focus on titles. They follow signatures. The question wouldn't be who wore the crown, but who signed the checks. The pressure around Montecito is tightening. Harry is boxed in between a partner he believes betrayed him financially and a government that could see him as legally responsible. Rogan said the architect played a near-perfect game, but made one slip. She let the dog near the bags. Now the trail exists. The money raises legal questions, and the escape itself has become a public scandal. But what Rogan raised deep into the 3rd hour of the podcast shifted everything into far more serious territory. After breaking down the cash and the shell companies, he paused. He looked at Jamie and asked a question that reportedly sent shockwaves through royal circles. "Where are the kids?" Rogan asked. He didn't move on. He pulled up the private jet's flight manifest. He replayed the airport footage. "We see the bags," Rogan said. "We see the Duchess. We see the handlers."
There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
Then he asked the obvious question, where were Archie and Lilibet? Rogan stressed something important. If young children were present, standard procedures would normally show support staff, child safety equipment, or visible arrangements. In the footage shown, none of that appeared. The studio went silent as Rogan carefully emphasized that this raised questions, not conclusions. "They're not visible on the plane," he said quietly, "or they weren't part of that flight." He made it clear this was speculation based on footage, not an accusation. Still, the implication rattled listeners. The conversation shifted from divorce rumors to concerns about custody, transparency, and international jurisdiction. Online concern exploded. Public discussion centered on one thing: clarity. The children who remain private minors became the focus of widespread calls for confirmation and accountability. Not panic, but answers. Rogan then turned to the legal maze facing Prince Harry. He referenced the Hague Convention on the Civil Aspects of International Child Abduction, an international agreement governing custody disputes across borders. He explained the stakes using a map. The United States is a signatory, the UK is a signatory, but certain regions operate under different legal interpretations. Rogan stressed that if children are physically present in a jurisdiction that doesn't enforce the same return mechanisms, custody disputes can become legally frozen. This is the checkmate, Rogan said, not as a claim, but as a warning. Once borders and courts get involved, resolution becomes slow, complex, and emotionally brutal. At this point, the story isn't about drama anymore. It's about law, responsibility, and the urgent need for transparency before speculation fills the gaps left by silence.
At Soho House Toronto, which is basically TIG headquarters for me. I write my stories here, I take my meetings here, and it's kind of amazing because all over the world, if I'm traveling, Soho House can still be home base.
Now make yourself cry. Oh, I can do that so well. Oh my God, it's crazy. You're like, Megan, 1 tear, left eye, go. Give me 3.
She didn't choose Dubai only for tax advantages, according to Rogan's analysis. She chose it because it functions as a legal stronghold in custody disputes. This lines up with what this channel has described for years as the chessboard theory. The idea is simple. Moves aren't emotional, they're strategic, and leverage matters more than love. In that framework, nothing carries more leverage than children. Rogan pointed to how little the public has seen of the children over the past year. Think about it, he said. When was the last time we saw a clear, verified photo that wasn't heavily stylized or vague? That absence, he suggested, raises questions about visibility and control, not conclusions. The implication was preparation, not proof, and listeners immediately felt the weight of that distinction. Back in Montecito, dawn breaks over the Santa Ynez Mountains. But inside the house, the atmosphere is described as frozen. Harry leaves the office and walks toward the West Wing, the area designated for the children's security. He stands quietly near the doors, eyes lowered, saying nothing. He opens the nursery, and what he sees shakes him. The room is immaculate. Too immaculate. Beds made with exact precision, toys lined up by size and color like a showroom display. It doesn't look lived in, it looks staged. He opens the closet. Clothes hang neatly, but when he touches them, a detail hits hard. The tags are still attached. They don't show signs of everyday use. The moment lands heavily, not as evidence, but as an emotional shock. The silence in the room doesn't feel like rest. It feels empty. The absence is loud. In his mind, past assumptions collapse. The nannies he paid generously weren't just caregivers in his memory anymore. They were gatekeepers. And now they're gone. Logs are missing. Documents are missing. Passports aren't where they should be. Harry drops to his knees in the middle of the room, holding a stuffed toy that smells new, untouched. The realization isn't about loss alone, it's about distance. About moments he thought existed but now can't place clearly. Rogan then shifted focus to Doria Ragland.
Nobody talks like that and nobody acts like that because that's weird behavior that we're seeing from both of these people if we're supposed to be thinking under the impression that they're being authentic.
Where's the mom? He asked. He framed it as a key question, not an accusation. In his theory, if Megan is managing strategy, Doria is managing logistics. We need to find Doria, Rogan said, emphasizing clarity over speculation. According to publicly available information discussed on the show, Doria was not seen at her Los Angeles residence recently. Neighbors reportedly hadn't noticed activity for days. Rogan referenced flight data showing a private charter departing from Van Nuys days earlier with Istanbul listed as the destination, a known transit hub for international travel. Rogan stressed this was theory, not confirmation, but he laid out a possible scenario. They split the assets, he said. One handles finances, one handles family logistics. He compared it to high-level risk management, where critical elements are never moved together. If one person hits trouble, the other still has leverage, Rogan explained. That's how contingency planning works. He described it as calculated, not chaotic. What unsettled listeners wasn't certainty. It was the level of planning implied. If any part of this theory proves accurate, the discussion didn't claim facts. It raised questions that now many believe deserve clear answers. They didn't just leave quietly. Rogan framed it as a coordinated, high-level exit that followed patterns seen in professional extraction operations. In his closing remarks, he delivered a direct message aimed straight at King Charles. Looking into the camera instead of speaking in hypotheticals, "Hey, King," Rogan said. He stated that the grandchildren were unaccounted for and located in a region with complex extradition rules, while serious financial allegations were circulating publicly. He emphasized that the UK has elite intelligence and security capabilities and asked a blunt question: would the Crown act or allow the situation to drift further out of reach? Rogan framed it as a pressure point, not a threat. The idea was leverage. He suggested that Meghan wasn't disappearing. She was repositioning. Not running, but waiting. Waiting not for Harry, but for palace lawyers to initiate talks. She wants a settlement, Rogan said. She wants leverage. In his view, this wasn't about escape. It was about negotiation. And the cost, he warned, wouldn't be limited to money alone. As daylight breaks in California, the house is still silent. The nursery remains empty, and Harry is facing a decision that could permanently alter his relationship with the institution he once left behind. According to the narrative Rogan laid out, Harry makes the call he swore he would never make. He reaches out to his father and admits something devastating, not certainty, but fear. That he doesn't know where things stand anymore and that the situation is beyond his control. At 4 a.m. London time, a rarely used diplomatic line reportedly rang inside Buckingham Palace, a channel reserved for moments considered critically sensitive. When King Charles answered, Rogan suggested he didn't hear a prince speaking with confidence. He heard someone broken. "She has them," Harry reportedly said quietly, followed by the admission that the money was gone. For years, the public expected the king's response to come in the form of statements or silence. Instead, Rogan claimed something else happened entirely. No press release, no denial. What followed was internal mobilization. Within an hour, long-standing palace protocol, often summarized as restraint and silence, was reportedly put aside. Rogan described experienced palace crisis managers being activated not for messaging, but for logistics. They weren't just summoned to offices. According to Rogan's analysis, they were sent into motion. "You don't take the king's grandchildren and expect a courtroom fight," Rogan warned earlier in the episode. "You expect an operation." And he claimed that's exactly what was beginning. At this point, Rogan argued, the story stopped being about a marriage or reputation. It crossed into something the monarchy views as existential, a dynastic risk. He suggested the king authorized private intelligence channels to operate where official agencies face jurisdictional limits, not as retaliation, but as preservation. To understand the response, Rogan said, you have to understand the institution itself. The monarchy plays the long game. It absorbs criticism. It allows narratives to unfold. It waits. Rogan suggested that silence was never weakness, it was patience. According to sources he referenced, palace analysts may have already been monitoring the financial network involved for months. If true, the implication is chilling. The story may not be reaching its climax, it may just be entering its most controlled phase yet. They knew, an insider reportedly revealed. According to that account, financial movements were being observed quietly. The shell companies were forming, the transfers were happening, and no one stepped in early, not out of neglect, but strategy. The allegation is that intervention had to wait until the actions were complete. The reasoning is legal, not emotional. By allowing events to fully unfold, the institution avoided appearing controlling or manipulative. Had they stepped in sooner, the narrative would have painted them as villains interfering in Harry's autonomy. By waiting, the responsibility shifted entirely onto the people who moved the money and made the decisions. That's the pivot. Charles is no longer framed as a distant parent. In this version of events, he becomes the rescuer. The silence wasn't weakness, it was patience, a long game. And now, according to this theory, the trap has snapped shut. Back in California, it's mid-morning in Montecito. The gates open, but it's not photographers or local authorities. 3 black Range Rovers with diplomatic plates roll slowly up the drive. Doors open. 4 men step out in tailored gray suits, carrying briefcases, not cameras. These are not personal attorneys. These are representatives of the crown. Harry meets them at the door. He looks exhausted, worn down, clearly overwhelmed. The lead agent, a man described as having served the late queen for decades, doesn't bow or exchange pleasantries. He hands Harry a document and speaks plainly. "Sir," he says, "we are assuming control of asset recovery, and we are assuming responsibility for you while on this property." The mood inside the house changes instantly. Panic gives way to precision. The men move with calm efficiency. Devices are secured, hard drives are preserved, digital systems are documented. This isn't chaos, it's procedure. Harry sits quietly, watching strangers methodically take apart the life he believed was independent. In that moment, it hits him. The phone call wasn't just a request for help, it was a surrender. The freedom he fought for is gone. He's back under the protection and authoritative hand of the institution he once rejected. According to leaks discussed online, the palace has shared a detailed dossier with U.S. authorities. The contents are said to include the identities behind consulting firms, private flight records, and internal communications linked to financial transfers. Those involved allegedly believed encrypted apps and corporate layers would shield them. But intelligence agencies like MI6 and GCHQ operate far beyond the reach of standard commercial protections. A shell company registered in Delaware doesn't block state-level intelligence capabilities. The implication is serious. The palace, according to this theory, has effectively handed U.S. investigators a ready-made framework. Here is the evidence. The message appears to be, you handle the financial case, we will handle the family matter. If accurate, this creates enormous pressure. Meghan, reportedly in Dubai, would now be facing scrutiny from multiple directions. One side focused on financial accountability, the other focused on family and custody clarity. That kind of pressure changes alliances quickly. Even powerful connections hesitate when multiple governments are involved. The theory suggests a realization is setting in that protection isn't guaranteed when two global institutions are asking questions at the same time. At this stage, the narrative being discussed isn't about image or reputation anymore. It's about jurisdiction, leverage, and who ultimately has authority when private decisions collide with public consequences. The men in gray suits didn't come to Montecito to help Harry rebuild. They came to extract him. The lead agent turns, calm and direct. Pack a bag, sir. The plane is waiting at Van Nuys. We are not staying. Harry scans the empty mansion. The quiet feels heavy. What about the house? He asks. The reply is flat. The house is a crime scene. It will be liquidated. Your life here is over. The message lands hard. This isn't a victory lap, it's a recall. Harry understands the ultimatum in full. He's not returning as a hero. He's returning under protection and restriction. Shielded, yes, but also silenced. The spare is being brought back in for a full reset. As the convoy rolls out, Harry looks back one last time at the place he chose to escape his family. In his head, the sold sign is already up. He ran from the palace searching for freedom and built a cage of his own. Now, the only exit is the way he tried to avoid. Straight back inside. The king answered the call. The operation is live. And the target isn't just Meghan. It's the complete shutdown of the Sussex experiment. This doesn't play out in a California courtroom or a London palace. It moves to a glass tower in downtown Dubai. Cold air, closed doors, no cameras. 48 hours after Harry's extraction, a second team lands in the UAE. No press, no spectacle. Just a diplomatic pouch carrying something far more powerful than threats. Questions about immunity and whether it still applies. Sources claim the meeting with royal envoys lasted under 20 minutes. No shouting, no bargaining, just terms. The king played the leverage card discussed earlier. The financial dossier wasn't only shared with U.S. authorities, it was shown to Emirati officials as well. The message was simple: host a celebrity headache or protect your banking ties with London. You don't get both. The outcome speaks volumes. Accounts reportedly frozen, key operators gone to ground, and Meghan Markle is no longer treated as an asset. She's a liability. Footage from outside the meeting tells its own story. No smile, no wave, just the look of someone realizing the board is flipped and the game changed direction. To understand what's unfolding now, Rogan pointed back to history, to 1937, to Wallace Simpson. The Crown has a long memory and a specific playbook for spouses perceived as destabilizing forces. The strategy has a name: containment by exile. Not drama, not revenge. Control at a distance. Quiet, methodical, and final. What's happening isn't about emotion or spectacle. It's about institutional survival, leverage, and limits. And when the Crown decides a line has been crossed, it doesn't argue. It moves. Meghan believed she was escaping to build an empire, but instead, she stepped into a gilded cage. According to the narrative discussed, the terms presented by palace lawyers were stark and calculated. She keeps personal freedom. She avoids immediate criminal charges. She even retains the title, for now. But the megaphone is gone. The platform disappears. No Hollywood circus, no New York spotlights, no London appearances. Access to Western media dries up. What remains are limited influencer lanes in parts of the Middle East and Asia. The global brand fades, replaced by a quieter, contained presence far from the centers of power. One last look at Palm Jumeirah. The sun drops over the Persian Gulf, stunning from the outside, suffocating within. Inside the villa, the air feels heavy. Meghan is alone. The security team that greeted her at the airport is gone. Their loyalty was contractual, and the contract ended. She reaches for her phone. Calls to agency contacts go unanswered. Streaming partners don't pick up. She checks her banking app. Access restricted pending review. The moment is gone. She looks into the mirror and practices the familiar smile, the sympathetic angle, the practiced expression. It doesn't land anymore. The audience isn't there. In that moment, the realization sets in. Harry was the engine behind the machine. Without him, there's no currency, just luggage, locked accounts, and silence. The quiet inside that villa isn't peace. It's irrelevance. She may have secured money briefly, but attention slipped away. And the unanswered question returns: the children. While legal pressure closed in from one direction, a separate process was already nearing resolution. Sources now claim Doria Ragland was located safely, not in Dubai, but in a secure environment arranged earlier. The shift came when scrutiny intensified and priorities changed. According to those accounts, the children were never placed in danger. They were transferred quietly, legally, and safely to authorized representatives before the flight ever left Los Angeles. This wasn't a rescue scene. It was a handover. Harry, now reportedly in a protected location in the UK, has been reunited with his children under appropriate supervision. No spectacle, no cameras, just containment and care. What many believed was leverage turned out to be a bluff. The palace never chased the threat, it neutralized it. Custody discussions, as framed here, effectively paused once the children were on British soil under royal protection. Legal challenges may still exist, but jurisdiction matters. Interviews can be granted, statements can be made, but the boundaries are set and they are firm. So how does this chapter close? With a reset. Prince Harry is back under institutional care, removed from public view, rebuilding quietly, raising his children far from cameras and chaos. And Meghan? She remains abroad, titled but contained, high visibility replaced with distance, luxury without influence, voice without reach. As for the missing millions, recovery is expected to be slow and procedural. Lawyers and accountants will do what they always do. The public will move on. The experiment ends not with noise, but with silence. The system resets, and the story fades from center stage, not with applause, but with the lights quietly turned off. If you watch this and have thoughts, drop them in the comments below. If this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe and stay locked in for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see it.